Welcome back to our show, your show, Let's Talk Stocks. Of course, as we told you, could not have been done in one show. He's back here with us to tell you about the Jamaican economy, the yellow brick road, and why there are so many opportunities. Yes, Priesnell Warren is back with us, Managing Director of Frontier Business Advisory. Welcome, Priest. So you have two things. So the labor participation rate hasn't really gone up that much to match this growth in employment, quote unquote, or reduction in unemployment, I should say, because there hasn't really been that significant growth in new employment numbers, and which speaks to the labor participation rate. So it is more of people staying out of the labor force.
Well, to an extent, there has been growth. Is it the kind of growth that we want? Because I can tell you, from maybe over a 10-year period, right? We're now in 2024, right? I would have been hearing that in order for Jamaica to really grow significantly, we at least need to be growing at least 5% year over year on a consistent basis. So I think...
Is that really possible?
It is. It's very much possible. I can tell you, we've done some of the numbers. And in terms of, I will use the comparison with Guyana, for example.
Okay.
A much smaller economy, but their actual GDP per capita is now better than Jamaica's.
Yeah, but we're talking about oil.
Oil. But what do we have? We have a very dynamic set of people. If you think of what we've been doing with a lot of the various things that we do very well at, could we apply that same model?
So while we have all these people, when you look at the model that is Jamaica, we are struggling to find that right mix that is going to move it equitably, rising tide lifting all boats. Because by and large, a man spends how much millions to go to UTech, for example, or youth. And he comes out with a degree and he goes get a job in the call center. Not the picture of the great, fabulously growing economy, creating wealth for all.
Well, let me tell you, call centers being here is one aspect of showing that Jamaica has some things going for it.
Okay.
Our language, we're strategically located. There's not very, exactly, we've always been. We have not fully utilized those areas. The BPO sector has a lot of ways to grow. And I believe based on just my checks, recent checks, it is growing. You do have higher order jobs that are coming, that are already there. And that's just one of many sectors. There's ripple effect. When there's a new call center, there's a physical space, right? That now becomes a park. There's a build out. There are restaurants, there are catering companies, there's entertainment. It now becomes almost a village, a new town center. Other businesses will be, look at sections of Portmore and how the space is building out. So I do believe
it's interesting that you mentioned Portmore. And again, I'm tempted to go back to informal versus formal underground. Are we really measuring the true Jamaica? And I'll tell you why. So I look on the roads and I see some evidence of this success that the minister speaks about. The kind of vehicles that I see out there, 5 million and upwards. You're renting a property, a 2-bedroom property in Portmore, you're talking maybe $70,000. Now, how on earth, given these salaries, can we afford these things?
because a lot of persons are not solely dependent on their salaries. In fact, if you think of Jamaica's economy, upwards of 80% of the economy is made up of MSMEs. It simply means
80%.
upwards of that amount, right? It's made up of that. You do have
You have statistics.
we have
show
we
that.
have data to show that.
80%.
There's even what is considered the global entrepreneurship monitor. Jamaicans have always been entrepreneurial, and you do find that a lot of persons are not solely dependent
On the salary.
on a salary.
So we're driving at least two incomes for most of the people.
We do. We are. We are.
Is it really entrepreneurial, or is it remittances?
So remittances actually have a big part to play. And I consider it almost like a remittance trap. Clearly, it's a great way to earn income. It's one of the benefits, I would say, of having such a large diaspora, right? Persons, so it's the benefit of the fact that immediately the brain drain issues that we've had, right?
And that's I'm happy you went there, because it's a point that we need to look at in a serious way as we look to build out the economy. Are we really having a brain drain, or is the fact that people leave creating space for those coming up? Would we not have stagnated had those persons stayed? And so when you look at economically, from an economics perspective, the concept of a brain drain and the things that follow, the consequences, that's not what we're seeing in Jamaica's scenario.
So to address that point, I believe to an extent I agree with you, because though immediately there's a void, but there's a point that I wanted to make earlier. It's almost like we're a football team and we're benching our people, right? We need to get them on the starting team, especially when others are injured. So the fact that persons have left, it creates opportunities. This is one reason.
So we might have to sell some of the players.
It's
a young talent coming up.
It might be. It's one of because I watch a lot of documentaries. It's one of the reasons why, even with all this economic sanctions, North Korea continues to actually export labor and gain from remittances. You'd wonder how is it possible for such a country to remain. It's these things. So there are benefits to it. And I would say there are added benefits when those persons return home with the skill sets, with the financing, the know-how to actually drive economic change. And some of that is actually happening.
You spoke to Jamaica having great possibilities. The economic miracle, you say, is still a work in progress,
Still a work in
it has
progress.
happened. I want you to talk to me a little bit more about that economic miracle as we look to come back to Kingston and the orange economy.
So the stock market, for example, right, to bring it home, is one of those avenues that it either provides you with an early indication of what is possible. So when the stock market became the number one performing market a few years ago, that is actually showing you the potential of Jamaica. Now COVID came and we are yet to really go into that next gear. But I will say our recovery from COVID has been nothing short of phenomenal. Because I myself sat and thought that we're really not going to make it. We're really going to struggle. If you think of our economic history of 1.4% average growth, we really have been doing well. If we can continue on this part, there's no stopping us.
COVID showed us that we really have not been measuring things correctly, because pre-COVID, tourism is biggest contributor to GDP. And if we lose this tourism, technically the economy should crash. But we lost tourism during COVID, the economy didn't crash.
That's called resilience.
Is it? Or is it again remittance?
So, so it is resilience and it is remittance, because it goes to show, and we're very inventive. I'll use, for example, even the entertainment industry. How was entertainment able to survive? You found that a lot of musical artists, a lot of creatives, took to the digital space. It's one of the areas when we touch on Yellow Brick Road. We don't just give you the economic numbers. We actually provide the industries. Okay. So remote work, you have a lot of young Jamaicans today.
Yeah, who not coming back to the 9 to 5.
Not coming back to the 9 to 5. They work online for various companies, or they work for a big tech company, for example, and they're here in Jamaica. So there are dynamisms in our economy. We're dynamic people, and we're able to adjust.
Back to Kingston, orange economy. We've heard so long, so much about the redevelopment of Kingston. Why haven't we been able to achieve it?
It goes back to one of the things I've said before. We tend to take too long. It's a personal pet peeve of mine, having been in various organizations. We spend way too much time meeting. If you think of some of the guys who have made it big, they'll tell you that they don't spend all of these hours in a meeting. If it's a meeting, it's a working meeting. You're getting things done. If we get more things done, and I'm not saying that things aren't happening, it's when I have these conversations with my colleagues, I'll say that the more we say that things aren't happening, because I've been, critical in the past, but the more I say things are not happening and the more I check, is the more I see things happening. For example, I went to New York at the end of September on a business mission, and when I, sat there and listened to all the various opportunities are just endless. It's just about getting in the know. It's a saying that the teacher will appear once the student is ready. So are we ready?
Kingston, what is Jamaica being held back because of the fact that we've taken so long to realize the possibilities of City Kingston?
We have, I believe, the world's largest natural dry harbor. When I was on my way here, I looked at it and I'm like, these are things that we take for granted. But you know what? When we go internationally, and that's why I encourage people to actually travel, get outside of your comfort zone, and you look internationally, you will realize the things that we take for granted, and that is when we will be able to actually start to put our hands on heart together and get things done.
What's going to be that one or two things that are going to kickstart the economy and take it to that 5% consistent growth? That's going to take us to first world.
Well, I believe they're happening already.
Okay.
There's been lots of work that I have personally seen from even the Jamaica Stock Exchange going into schools, right? I believe you've gone to high schools.
Yes.
You're in the colleges. Why not go to prep and basic as well? They can learn too. They will learn about money as young as they are.
Buy them stocks for the birthday instead of toys.
It's one of the things I've actually done personally, right? Buy stocks. I encourage my friends. Though I'm not a financial advisor, I have to always, put in the caveat. But if we continue to encourage our people, I believe in creating business showers, building each other. If we continue to create that, it will be ours. The success will be ours.
2030 is possible.
It is possible.
We've been talking with Priesnell Warren. Of course, he's the managing director of Frontier Business Advisory. And of course, he believes in Jamaica. As a matter of fact, he's bullish on Jamaica. Ask you, pay attention to what he's saying. And that's why we bring these shows. That's why we tell you day after day. We give you information to make better financial solutions. Come back with us tomorrow morning at 9. have another wonderful show lined up for you.
Thanks for having me.
Great.
You know what to do with your little thing,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.